And the computer's going to say all those words are correct. So this is why you have to have something that talks out loud for a low skills reader and gives him another method by which he can check it. And then you send him to a college that teaches him how to spell.
Do you know if there a book out with a list of colleges that you start to look at?
Yes. There is the Peterson's Guide. Now, your local library should have these. The Peterson's Guide to College Choices. And there's Loveland's Guide to College for Students with Learning Disabilities. I think those are the two best. They're the most comprehensive. Magnum and Strickert, Magnum-Strict. That's the author, the two authors' last names, wrote an awfully good book on choosing a college program for students with learning disabilities. Came out in '88. How many applications do we get and how many do we accept? We get hundreds every year. We have been given permission to double the size of our program, so now we're taking 65 students in the fall and an additional 15 in the spring. We take them on a first-come, first-served basis. We have... Mm-hmm. So we have applications into 1994, 95 already. Smart parents get their name on the list quick.
And kids can take their GREs for reading. I've heard that they can have it read to them.
Mm-hmm. You're thinking about the ACTs and the SATs. Yes. They can have it read to them. They can take it over several days. They can have it on tape. All of those are guaranteed by the federal government. Just get your homework done early. Because, ninth grade is not too early. The only thing you're going to do is pay $50 for an application fee someplace, and then you can go wherever you want, but at least you're assured of a place. Now, more and more programs are developing around the country, but boy, they're coming slowly. And they are not necessarily comprehensive. There are a lot of reasons for that. First of all, the lack of faculty awareness is a big one. We're still doing battle with the faculty who do not know the law. And that's another thing. You parents and teachers and people with learning disabilities, you have to know the law. 504 regulations of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act says that people cannot deny you the right to take an untimed test in your college class. They must make reasonable accommodations. Now that doesn't mean they give you the answers, but they must make reasonable accommodations. The Americans with Disabilities Act, just passed January 29th of this year, is even more stringent. Go and get those. You can get them on tape from the federal records, from the Federal Register. And make sure that what you are needing is what you are getting. I have no problem at all in telling faculty when they are not doing what they're supposed to do. Lots of times they don't know, sometimes they think it's unfair. I don't give a hoot. The problem is you do it because it is the law. And as I mentioned this afternoon, the Office of Civil Rights will be down on the heads of whomever does not do it faster than you can believe. I know because I've been called in as an expert witness at so many colleges and universities. It is not an option. It is your right. Make sure that you use it. We give our students what they need. We don't give them more than what they need. As I was mentioning this afternoon, in the 15 years of Achieve, I've had 2 students who cheated. In both cases, we caught them. I caught one, the teacher caught the other one. And in both cases, we went to the faculty members and they said, what do we do? We said, flunk them, because this is what they deserve. Students who cheat get flunked. You don't give special treatment. You do not give them answers or say they don't have as many classes. You don't have to turn in 5 papers, you can only turn in 3. Or anything at all that changes the curriculum and the quality of that curriculum for that student. What you do is to give them the opportunity to learn it themselves and to demonstrate to you what they have learned. Okay? Just want to make that clear.
Do the lawyers are they on like half term, like lighter loads?
The question is, do my students have lighter loads? They certainly do the first semester because I need that time to work with them. I've got to get them into remediation. I've got to get them into a writing class, perhaps, or whatever. Once they're maintaining a B average, they can take as many classes as they want. But I keep them out of fraternities and sororities until they get in the B average. And I won't let them take, 18 hours until they are. Because it's simply, people with learning disabilities you have to respect. They spend a lot more time studying than other people do. And that's one of the reasons it doesn't feel, they don't feel so good about it, is because other people seem to learn it in so much quicker time. And that's one of the reasons for the feeling of inadequacy, which eventually goes away.
You talked something about home study, school, high school, and lower grade levels. Did you do that?
What I did? Yes, I did an awful lot of remediation and work in my home.
You take them out of school?
No, in the home study, yes, that's what you do. You homeschool them. You teach them at home in your own place. And we have quite a bit of that going on around the country right now. They take the children, they are not satisfied with what's happening in the special ed classes, especially with the multi-categorical placements, where everybody's in the same room, you don't know what you got. And my older daughter is an LD teacher, master's level. She has 31 kids in her quote-unquote LD classroom. 7 are really LD. The other ones are everything under the sun. She's got one that barks. Just tragic. The real LD kid can't get taught because she's so busy trying to take care of the behavior problems of all these other kids. She's in total burnout, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her. If her kids or my other daughter's kids turn out to be LD, we may very well homeschool them for a while. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's legal. You can homeschool them. They have to pass tests and everything to prove that you aren't, just saying go outside and play. They have to, but in general, most of those kids do better. Yeah, one of the criticisms of homeschooling is that they don't get to play with their peer group. Well, as long as they are in some outside activities, like scouts or church or, whatever, so that they are with the peer group, you're not going to have social problems. They can play with the kids when they get home from school. That's not a really good argument. I honestly can remember, and I'm sure you can too, sitting in your 4th or 5th grade class being bored to death. I remember thinking, if I can do 5 of these stupid problems, she ought to know that I know how to do them. Why do I have to sit here and do 100? There is no reason for this. I could be reading the encyclopedia. I hate this. And I think it's probably the reason I don't like math to this day. Not because I couldn't do it, but because I was so bored. LD people are bright people. You can't make them sit around forever. I remember when my daughter Tara was in the 3rd grade, her teacher, LD was new, granted, but her teacher had been trained as a teacher of the mentally retarded. And so what she did to remediate Tara's math was to write problems, 1 problem to a page, 3 plus 4 equals. Well, my daughter has an IQ of 144. She took one look at that and wrote in the tiniest print she could possibly find in the lower right-hand corner, 7. That's an insult. When we treat kids like that, that's insulting. And they know it. And I don't blame them for getting mad about it. I don't blame them a bit. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my sisters have gone to my school this thing. They're in one school, all the children in second grade cannot read. They're having to hire teachers because they're saying the children are learning disabled because the program they're using isn't working.
That's convenient. Hey, way to get off the hook. They got ILD.
I was just wondering, other than the programs that they're using, I know, because I grew up using phonetics, they're using like assimilation. Are there any other programs that could be used besides phonetics because they're not going to West?
Oh, yes. There are dozens and dozens and dozens. It's like the new math. It must come out of California. I don't know why we do this. There was a wonderful book written that if you haven't read it, you really ought to go find it. It's called Square Pegs in Round Holes. What it means is that we try to take all of these children and we try to push them all in the same box. It's like that old adage, if you have only a hammer, you tend to treat everything else as a nail. Right? So all the kids have to be the same. Bonk, 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 bonk. Get in your hole. No matter what shape you are, get in there. Assuming, of course it's ridiculous, we've known this for 100 years. Guess what, guys? People don't learn the same way. Some of us ladies, maybe some of you guys do too, walk through a dress store, well, not a dress store, and you feel the material as you go by because you can get more information that way about how it's going to feel, what kind of material it is. You are getting through another sense, your hands, tactile, which is touch, kinesthetic, which means movement, information that you can't get through your eyes and your ears. We do that without thinking. We have all of these nice senses, but we teach through two. Years ago, John Money said, he was a famous teacher of reading, and he said, if you teach all the children in a first grade class using a phonics approach, you will reach 80% of the children. If you teach all of the children using a look-say approach, that was the one that was look, look, here comes Dick, that one, you will reach 80% of the children, but not the same 80%. And that's the key. No one technique is good for everybody. That's why even in the college program, we might use Orton-Gillingham for those who are strong phonetically and auditorily. Neural Impress for those who have memory deficits. I can go down the line. We have 8 or 10 different programs that we use based on the student's learning style, not what I happen to know how to teach. So that's ridiculous that, right, blame the kid. I don't know how to teach, I'm going to blame the children. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, ma'am.
Two questions. First, what is neural impress?
Okay. Neural impress is a technique by which the student reads along in the book, whether or not he can read very well. And in his ear, he is hearing the book on tape. And it can be done either with a person sitting behind reading that, or it can be done with a tape recorder. Works better with a person or a plug in the ear. And what it does is greatly enhance comprehension. We use it for students with good word attack skills but low comprehension skills, where they're just not remembering what's being read.
The other question is, could you talk about some of the accommodations that you use that are not just lengthening time on the test and the common ones that we hear about all the time? You talk about things that are maybe different.
Well, let me go over the list of the things that we have. We have note takers for, again, this is for the students who need it. Note takers, untimed tests, tutors for classes in which you might need them, developmental writing class to teach paragraph writing, topic sentences for those students who write like this student that I showed you. One-to-one remediation in basic skill areas. I have 14 graduate students, 4 of whom work in only remediation, and 1 of whom works in only remediation of math. They use such things that you may not have heard of, like the hands-on equation kit, which costs $35 and can teach anybody algebra. And I have students who flunked it 6 times or dropped it 8. And it's a marvelous kit. It's just Wonderful. To teach a classroom would cost you $200 for the kit. It's a marvelous thing. So we use those kinds of things. When we're going up, well, for instance, I was talking this afternoon about a young man I have who's in a zoology class, and he's having a terrible time memorizing all of those 6 and 7 syllable words. And so, are you familiar with VAKT? Okay, VAKT is a technique. It combines all of the senses, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. And basically what it is to, you write on the board the word that the student has to remember and learn how to spell, and what you can spell, you can read. And you trace it with your finger. Anybody who's interested in knowing that technique, sign your name up, put by it, put your name by it, and what you want by it, and I'll ship it off to you as soon as I get home. But it's a tracing thing. Grace Fernald developed it 40 years ago. It works marvelously with students who can't learn visually or auditorily well. They learn to read and spell that way. We do it all the time. It hardly ever is used in public schools. I haven't a clue as to why. Because it was accepted in public schools, well, in 1930s. And somewhere along the line, somebody thought they had a better idea, I guess. But if you're interested in it, I'll be glad to send you a handout, show you how to do it. The same is true of the mathematics things. I've written articles about the steps that you follow in teaching a student mathematical concepts, because without looking, I can practically tell you what an LD student isn't going to know in terms of math. That they're not going to know decimals, fractions, percentiles. Those are the biggies. And they can't get through that stupid algebra class. Interestingly enough, research clearly shows that they are excellent when it comes to the statistics classes, which they're always afraid of. Everybody's afraid of statistics, unless you're really, really good at it. But they ace it. They ace it. And when I say why, they say because in statistics the formulas are given, and in algebra they're not. You have to remember them. And because one is horizontal and the other is vertical. It's the mode of presentation. It's not that they don't know how to do it. It's the mode of presentation. I'm telling you, I really learn a lot from these students. But then I ask them. If I see something that doesn't seem right, I ask them, how'd you do that? Or, why do you do that? Tell me about that so that I can learn. Maybe I've got another student that would help too. And the smarter I can get, the better teacher I'll become. So if you want the hands-on equation kit things or the VAKT, just write your name on the pad and I'll ship it out. Other things that we do, well, the one-to-one remediation. I mean, it's common for us. The reason we stayed in the Baptist Student Center when they were renovating our building and everybody else moved in is because they're small rooms. And that gives me privacy to work with individual students. So it's one-to-one remediation. One-to-one, I'm going to increase your reading skills, increase your math skills, increase writing or whatever it is. Time management, scheduling, counseling. We have both a career counselor and a counselor for students. My students have the same problems anybody else does, getting in fights with their boyfriends or their roommates or whatever, and they need help with that sometimes. And so those are all readily available. We advocate for our students. A lot of them come in being good advocates for themselves, maybe once in a while running into a professor they don't understand or they're having trouble with. Many of them come in lacking those advocacy skills, terrified to even admit to a professor that they have a learning disability, although after they've been there a short period of time, it's obvious that the professors are really very comfortable with our students because my students have earned that. After 15 years, the professors know that they're as good as anybody else. And as a matter of fact, lots of professors will just start the beginning of the semester saying, by the way, if any of you guys are in Achieve, just let me know, see me after in office hours, and we'll do whatever you need. And they just blow it off like that. The kids are flabbergasted. They walk into the first class and they say, wow, they can't believe they're being treated that way. But that comes with experience. That's what that does.
For rote memory deficit, do any of the traditional memorization techniques work? I've heard mixed opinions. There are
Yep.
But some
I've
people
done it.
say they don't, and other people say they do. And
Well, I've done the multiplication tables with the Harry Lorraine's special, one bun, two shoe, and so forth. I've used that on some students. Matter of fact, I have the whole card set up that way so that I can teach it both auditorily and visually. But in all honesty, now I use the finger multiplication, which is so much simpler. And it's a piece of cake for them. They don't have any trouble with that because your fingers are always right there and you can figure out what the multiplication tables are. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, put your name down, write multiplication tables, and I'll send you that handout. As far as the rote memorization, the one we find works the best are mnemonic devices. Make it as ridiculous, as absurd as you possibly can, and you'll remember it. Tie it to as simple as every good boy does fine, what we used to learn on the musical scales. All right, you do the same thing. You do the same thing through using the SQ3R note-taking method for studying, where you write the term in the left column, you write the definition in the middle column, then you write something in the right column that is mnemonic, like, mitosis. Okay, you'd write mitosis. Here you'd write the 5 phases of mitosis, and then for your mnemonic device, you'd write mitos. And then you can study by covering up a couple and then opening up one and so forth like that. And it's a really good way of learning those things, making sure you've got the definitions right and everything. Well, you've been an excellent patient audience. I'm sure you're tired of sitting. But thank you very much for inviting me. I've enjoyed it.